Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Liam, and in today's video we are going to talk about wrist wraps. So wrist wraps, by far one of the most popular equipment in the gym. Although a lot of people are using them, but a lot of them are not using it the proper way. And so today in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to use it, when to use it, and also some common mistakes I see from the people that are using wrist wraps. So wrist wraps are obviously meant for your wrist, and the purpose of using a wrist wrap is to obtain maximal support for your wrist joint. So especially when you are doing heavy pressing movements like bench press, overhead press, or even squats, you can use a pair of wrist wraps to help support your wrist. So when you are doing some heavy pressing movements, and also some people use it during their squats. So when you are doing some heavy bench pressing, overhead pressing, or if you are doing low bar squats where your wrists are bent like this, you should be using a pair of wrist wraps. Now, you may use wrist wraps. You don't really need them to be in the gym. You don't really need a pair of wrist wraps to start lifting weights. So if you don't have a wrist wraps, don't worry, you can still make some serious progress in the gym. Now there are two things that you need to remember. Number one is that your wrist wraps should be tight. Number two is that you need to have maximum support and minimal wrist flexion. So your wrist shouldn't be moving around after you put on your wrist wraps. Now what I usually do is that I wrap it around my wrist for the first time, pretty loose. It doesn't have to be very tight. And then after that, I take it off and I wrap it around my other hand until I reach like this. And after that, I wrap it around my wrist again, but this time I'm going to do it tight, and I'm going to pull my other hand around so that I can stretch the wrist wraps when I am wrapping my wrist. Like this. And don't forget to take away your thumb loop after you have wrapped your wrist wraps. So this is what you are looking for when you are using a pair of wrist wraps. It should be tight, so tight that you can open your palms fully. It's just like, this is the maximum I can ever reach. And also minimal wrist flexion, so my wrist can't move very much because it provides maximum support. And if you look around, it's covering my entire wrist joint, and here it's almost up to my palms. So this is how you should be wrapping your wrist wraps. Common mistake number one is that people are not using it on the right exercise. So a lot of people have their wrist wraps on throughout the whole workout, and they use it for almost every exercise. So the proper way of using your wrist wraps is to use it when you are doing heavy pressing movements. So heavy bench press, heavy overpressing, and sometimes heavy squats. These exercises you should be using your wrist wraps, not for your bicep curls, your pull-ups, or your leg press. Common mistake number two is that people are not putting it on properly, so it's not tight and it's not covering the wrist joint. I have been mentioning this whole point throughout this whole video, so by now you guys should know what to do. And common mistake number three is that people are mixing up wrist wraps with wrist supports. So this is a pair of wrist wraps, and this is wrist support. Now wrist support and wrist wraps, they have the same function, which is to provide support for your wrist. but they are used during different situations. Now, wrist wraps are used when you are doing some heavy pressing movements in the gym or doing other outdoor activities where your wrists flex a lot. And wrist support are used when you are having an injury, especially on your wrist, and you are recovering from that injury, so you don't want to have unwanted movement on your wrist so that it will worsen your condition. So the main difference between wrist wraps and wrist support is that wrist wraps are used in the gym and wrist supports are used when you first got an injury on your wrist. You need to let your wrist have a maximum amount of rest, so you put on some wrist support so it doesn't hurt your wrist and you don't use your wrist for some unnecessary movements. So that's all for today's video, guys. Hope you guys learned something. If you guys have any problems, comment down below. I will answer your questions. And if you guys find this video interesting and helpful, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see all of you guys in my next videos. Peace.